Bryce blew him a kiss. Chapter 11. Therian needed a new job. Honestly, even years into the position, he had no idea how he'd wound up in charge of the River Queen's intelligence. His schoolmates probably laughed every time his name came up. A thoroughly average, if not lazy, student, he'd gotten his passing grades mostly through charming his teachers. He had little interest in history or politics or foreign languages, and his favorite subject in school had been lunch. Maybe that had primed him. People were far more inclined to talk over food. Though any time he'd tortured an enemy, he'd puked his guts up afterward. Fortunately, he'd learned that a cold beer, some mirth root, and a few rounds of poker usually got him what he needed. And this, research. Normally, he'd tap one of his analysts to pore over his current project, but the River Queen wanted this kept secret. As he sat before the computer in his office, all it took was a few keystrokes to access what he wanted: Sophie Renast's email account. Declan Emmett had set up the system for him, capable of hacking yellow vest blazingly bright in the river water, a sealed tube clenched between his little fangs. A creature of both worlds. Some of the messenger otters dwelled here, in the blue court deep beneath the Istros, a small metropolis both exposed and sealed off from the water around them. Other otters lived above, in the bustle and chaos of Crescent City proper. Therian couldn't ever move above, he reminded himself. His duties required him here, at the River Queen's beck and call. Therian peered at his bare feet, digging them into the cream shag carpet beneath his desk. He'd been in human form for nearly a day now. He'd have to enter the water soon, doubled as apartments for the mayor. But Therian liked TV, liked eating food that wasn't soggy at best, cold and wet at worst. He liked sleeping in a warm bed, sprawled over the covers and pillows, and not tucked into a seaweed hammock swinging in the currents. And since living on land wasn't an option, this underwater building had become his best bet. And since living on land wasn't an option, this underwater building had become his best bet. His office was in one of the glass bubbles that made up the blue sky. His office was in one of the glass bubbles that made up his computers. His office was in one of the glass bubbles that made up his computers. Beautiful and wise, and like so many of the older Vanir, evidence of a normal existence. Emails with friends about sports or TV or an upcoming party. Emails from parents asking that she pick up groceries on her way home from school. Emails from her little brother, Emil. Those were the ones that he combed through the most carefully. Maybe he'd get lucky, and there'd be some hint in here about where Sophie was headed. On and on Therian read, keeping an eye on the clock. He had to get in the water soon, but he kept reading, hunting for any clue or hint of where Sophie and her brother might have gone. He came up empty. Therian finished Sophie's inbox, checked the junk folder, and then finally the trash. It was mostly empty. He clicked open her sent folder and groaned at the tally. But he began reading again, click after click after click. His phone chimed with an alert. 30 minutes until he needed to get into the water. He could reach the airlock in 5 minutes if he walked fast. He could get through another few emails before then. Click, click, click. Therian's phone chimed again. 10 minutes. But he'd halted on an email dated 3 years ago. It was so simple, so nonsensical that it stood out. Subject, read Dusk's truth. The subject line was weird, but the body of her email was even weirder. Working on Banshee Fan 56. Another half-deleted chain. This one originating from Banshee Fan 56. Subject, Project Third. Could be useful to you. Read it. Sophie had replied, just did. I think it's a long shot, and the 6 will kill me for it. He had a good feeling he knew who the Six referred to, the Asteri. But when Tharian searched online for Project Thur, he found nothing. Only news reports on archaeological digs or art gallery exhibits featuring the ancient demigod. Interesting. There was one other email in the drafts folder. Banshee Fan 56 had written, "When you find him, lie low in the place I told you about, where the weary souls find relief from their suffering in Lunathian. It's secure." A rendezvous spot? Tharian scanned what Sophie had started to reply, but never sent. "Thank you. I'll try to pass along the info to my..." She'd never finished it. There were any number of ways that sentence could have ended. But Sophie must have needed a place where no one would think to look for her and her brother. If Sophie Renast had indeed survived the Hind, she might well have come here, to this very city, with the promise of a safe place to hide. But this stuff about Project Thur and Dusk's truth? He tucked those tidbits away for later. Tharian opened a search field within Declan's program and typed in the sender's address. He started as the result came in. Danica Fendir. Tharian burst from his office, sprinting through the glass corridors that revealed all manner of river life, mare and otters and fish, diving birds and water sprites, and the occasional winding sea serpent. He only had 3 minutes before he had to be in the water. Thankfully, the hatch into the pressurization chamber was open when he arrived, and Tharian leapt in, slamming the round door behind him before punching the button beside it. He barely sealed the door when water flooded his feet, rushing into the chamber with a sigh. Tharian sighed with it, slumping into the rising water and shucking off his pants, his body tingling as fins replaced skin and bone, his legs fusing, rippling with tiger-striped scales. He pulled off his shirt, shuddering into the scales that rippled along his arms and halfway up his torso. Talons curled off his fingers as Tharian thrust them into his hair, slicking back the red strands. Fucking inconvenient. Tharian glanced at the digital clock above the airlock door. He was free to return to human form now, but he liked to wait a good 5 minutes, just to make sure the transformation had been marked by the strange magic that guided the mare. It didn't matter that he could summon water from thin air. The shift only counted if he submerged completely in the currents of Ryan's magic. Danica Fendir had known Sophie Renast. Had swapped emails during a 6-month window leading up to Danica's death, all relating to something about Dusk's truth and this Project Thur, except that one detailing a secure spot. But had Danica Fendir known Emil as well? Had Emil been the person Sophie had meant to pass along the safe location info to? It was a stretch, but from what the River Queen had told him, everything Sophie had done before her death had been for her brother. Why wouldn't he be the person she was eager to hide, should she ever get him free from Kabbalah? The trouble now was finding him somewhere in this city, where the weary souls find relief from their suffering, apparently, whatever that meant. Tharian waited until 5 minutes had passed, then reached up with a muscled arm to hit the release button beside